Thank you, Tyson. Uh, I would like to open it up for questions at this time, and I have included on the next two slides the representatives from the development team and consultants, as well as the city and their consultants, as a reminder to everyone, in case you have specific questions for any of these people.
Gracias. En este momento vamos a abrir para preguntas. He incluido aquí los nombres de las personas, las compañías, los representantes, ¿sí? De cada uno de los equipos y consultantes en dado caso que tenga pregunta específica.
Yeah. Hello, I have a question.
Thank you. Yes, please feel free to ask your question and I will field it and direct it to the appropriate person.
Yes, my question is, if there is any earthquake or any disaster, what is the evacuation plan set up by the city for the residents who are going to be on Tennyson? There is already a big community on right above Tennyson, and then there is one more being built right now. So with about 200 houses already on Tennyson, early in the morning, there is already so much of traffic. With all this addition, there is going to be way more traffic. What is the evacuation plan that you have in place?
Thank you for the question. Oh, sorry, Martha.
Thank you. Si la pregunta que yo tengo es, en dado caso de que vaya a haber un temblor o algún desastre, ¿cuál sería el plan de evacuación para todos los residentes? Ahorita en este momento, los residentes que están en la parte de Tennyson, hay otra comunidad también. En conjunto serían como 200 casas que en este momento podría formarse mucho más tráfico ahora con esta construcción. ¿Cuál es el plan de evacuación con la ciudad?
Thank you for the question. I'm going to ask Scott Wickstrom from the city of Hayward to respond.
Gracias por su pregunta. Vamos a pedirle a Scott de la ciudad de Hayward que por favor responda.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Scott Wickstrom. I'm a development services engineer with the city of Hayward. And in response to the question, it was really about evacuation following an earthquake. And the evacuation route for the La Vista properties up on the hill that you're referring to, the 200 houses that are up there, would either be down Tennyson Road or Alguer Parkway, which heads to the south. I think a component to keep in mind here is that what you're thinking about traffic is during the morning rush hour peak, and following an earthquake, there would be an evacuation. And that evacuation would take time, but there is enough capacity to evacuate on those two existing roads. It just wouldn't all happen in a matter of like 5 or 10 or 15 minutes. It might take a half hour or an hour to get down there, but there is sufficient capacity to do that.
Ahora, mi nombre es Scott Wickstrom, yo soy el ingeniero de desarrollo para la ciudad. Ahora la pregunta que se ha hecho es para poder evacuar de la parte de la Vista y la parte de Tennyson. ¿Podrían bajar y salir por la parte de Albine Parkway, que es a la parte sur? Sí, ahora la pregunta, cuando se junta el tráfico sería durante el plazo de tiempo de la mañana, ¿sí? Ahora, la evacuación se podría hacer con esas dos calles. Podría durar obviamente más de 30 minutos a 1 hora, posible, porque sería una evacuación, pero sí sería posible.
Thank you for the question. Thank you, Scott, for the answer. Do we have any other questions at this time?
Gracias por la pregunta. Gracias, Scott, por la respuesta. ¿Alguna otra pregunta en este momento?
I am seeing some action in the chat. Were there specific questions that people would like to ask of the various consultants that we have available?
Estoy mirando algunas preguntas aquí en el chateo de ciertas preguntas que se quieren hacer a los consultantes que tenemos en el panel.
I would like to say something. As a
Great,
lifelong,
thank you.
hi, I'm Marcella James. I'm a lifelong resident on East 16th Street and Broadway. Seeing a lot of change going on around here. It is a fact that our streets in this neighborhood have been neglected. The traffic is like a freeway on East 16th Street a lot of times throughout the day. We haven't had any repairs done up here, potholes, widening, what have it. I feel like we're being held hostage in that aspect. That's not going to get done unless you guys get approved to build this unit up here. It's not safe on that aspect. And then as far as the fault line and all that, you guys took down Warren Hall because of the concerns with the earthquake. This land up here, it's not sturdy for those big, I call them eyesores. There's a lot of underground springs up here that is a potential risk for sinkholes. I don't know if you guys took any of that into consideration when you were saying you moved the line out of landslide areas. Any given spot up here can cave in at any time. You guys want to put a bunch of little kids up here. You're talking about social distancing with the COVID pandemic, but yet you guys want to pile hundreds of people on top of each other again. This is not the location for that project. Is simply not the location. And Hayward was called the heart of the Bay. You guys are giving us heart failure and heart disease. There's congestion all over the place. We do not want to look like another Daly City, okay? A lot of people are moving from those areas into this neighborhood to get away from that congestion, the chaos that brings. And the neighbors that I've talked to, which are quite a few, they're very disappointed in that fact. You guys, again, it's not compatible with this neighborhood. Like, that's it for now.
Thank you, Marcella. We hear your concerns, and I was taking notes so that I could ask various consultants to jump in with answers to some of your questions. So I was planning to ask James Yang, who's our geotechnical engineer from NGO, to start things off if he's ready. And Martha, I gave you a lot to translate there.
Not a problem. I'll just summarize if that's okay. Sí, mi nombre es Marcella James. Yo vivo aquí por la calle East 16th y la Broadway. Y ahora una de las preocupaciones que nosotros tenemos aquí es de que la mayor parte del tiempo nosotros se han olvidado, de hecho, de las calles que tenemos aquí. Durante el plazo de tiempo se ve aquí como si fuera una autopista. Sí, durante varios tiempos durante el día. No han reparado las calles, hay muchos agujeros en las carreteras y yo siento que no está seguro aquí, no está seguro hacer esta clase de desarrollo y construcción. Ahora, por una razón, bajaron a Warren Hall por la razón de que estaba la preocupación de las áreas, de las líneas de falla, de terremoto. Ahora, hay muchos lugares aquí que tienen agua y hay la potencial de que vayan a haber sumederas de agujeros. Entonces, se puede bajar esto en cualquier momento. Una de las otras cosas es de que hay muchos niños aquí, quieren traer a otra comunidad y a más gentes aquí en esta área. Este no es un lugar, Hayward, para meter a más gente a vivir aquí y tener una escuela con niños, con estos lugares que no son muy seguros. Nos conocemos a nosotros como the Heart of the Bay. En realidad nos están dando enfermedad del corazón, ¿sí? Al hacer algo así. Hay mucha congestión aquí en esta área y este no sería el buen lugar para esta construcción. Ahora la señorita Kate quiere traer a James Yang para que venga y pueda responder a esta pregunta, a este comentario que se ha hecho.
Hi, Martha. Thank you. And Marcella, nice to meet you. So I am the project engineer for the PG3 parcel project. So I think a couple of the things that you had mentioned was, I think, some of the springs. And as part of our geotechnical assessment of the site, we have characterized the groundwater at the site. You are right. One of the things is that the site is relatively close to the Hayward Fault. And as a result, one of the things that we're recommending as a geotechnical engineer is that there's some what we call corrective grading or remedial grading to create stable slopes. So as part of that, we do what's called slope stability analysis, and we simulate the earthquake. Oh, I'm sorry, Martha. I'm trying to keep it short. We actually run this through the model and look at how it's going to perform. So that's a short primer, but we have prepared a fault exploration study and also a geotechnical report.
Sí, entonces, gracias por la pregunta. Mi nombre es James Yang. Yo soy el ingeniero del proyecto aquí para el proyecto de PD3 y quiero avisar de que nosotros hemos mirado lo que es el sitio geotécnico. Sí, es correcto, donde usted dice que esta está muy cerca a la línea de falla de Hayward. Lo que nosotros hemos hecho es hacemos lo que se llama un deslizamiento de poder corregir el terreno en esas áreas. Hacen lo que se llama para poder rebajar las áreas del terreno, de la tierra, para poder mirar los niveles como bajan de la tierra, y nosotros todo esto lo incluimos en el modelo, ¿sí?, que se presenta para hacer este desarrollo y la construcción. Pero hemos hecho los estudios, estamos haciendo los estudios para ver a ver qué impacto tendría, ¿sí?, la construcción con esta falla de temblor que tenemos aquí a un lado.
And I'll respond to one more item. I think you had mentioned the Warren Hall. I'm not actually as familiar with that, but what I will say is that the design from a geotech perspective and all other, I guess, elements of the design are going to be adhering to the latest California building code. And so, again, I'm not familiar with Warren Hall, but for this project, compared to, let's say, a structure built in some years past, it should be more robust. So I'll wrap up there. Thanks, Martha.
Thank you. Sí, había mencionado usted acerca de que habían bajado a Warren Hall, sí, por la preocupación de que estaba a un lado de las líneas de falla de los temblores. Ahora el diseño y los ingenieros que han hecho y el estudio que se ha hecho de la parte geotécnica están todos en conjunto con los códigos de construcción que se conocen como los Building Codes de California. Y estoy yo confidente y no estoy seguro, no conozco muy bien los detalles de la razón por la cual bajaron a Warren Hall, pero yo estoy confidente de que al hacer esta construcción va a ser bastante fuerte.
Thank you. Another question that Marcella had to do with traffic and congestion.
Gracias. Otra pregunta que tenía Marcela era de que tenía el comentario de que iba a haber mucha congestión con el tráfico.
I would like to ask the consultants from Kittleson to provide a response to those concerns.
Quisiera pedir a los consultantes de Kettleston que por favor le respondan a ese comentario.
Sure, this is Damien Stefanakis with Kittleson. I can start off and pass it on to my colleague. Kittleson did a detailed and robust traffic study, which I believe is available to everyone. That did consider and reviewed all the key roadways in the study area, including East 16th Street. And based on our traffic study, we did review traffic conditions during the worst case, which is the peak hour, morning and evening peak hours. And we quantified delay and what we call level of service grade from A to F. And we have identified where the most critical locations are. So that traffic study is available to the public. And my colleague, Michael Sahimi, can elaborate a little further on specific locations like that were mentioned, like East 16th Street.
Sí, mi nombre se lo han pasado a la compañía de Kettleston. Mi nombre es Damon Stefanox. Quiero compartir la información de mi colega para indicarles de que se ha hecho un estudio muy detallado específicamente al tráfico y la congestión que podría suceder durante las horas de la mañana y también durante tarde de la mañana. Sí, pudieron identificar las partes críticas en este estudio. Este estudio en detalle sería disponible para todos ustedes. Ahora se lo voy a pasar a mi colega Michael para que pueda hablar un poquito más acerca de ese estudio que se hizo.
Thanks. And I want to provide three different parts in terms of traffic on 16th, but I'll make sure to stop in the middle to give Martha a chance to as well. So basically, as you mentioned before, the school does have separation between the site does have separation from the school and the residential area. So we don't anticipate school trips using 16th Street. In addition to the physical separation, the school will have monitors on site to make sure that parents aren't, in fact, for example, driving on 16th and dropping their kids off. And they'll make sure that school admin will speak to parents to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Sí, ahora quiero hablar un poco acerca del tráfico por la calle 16. Quiero hablar específicamente acerca de que hay una división entre las vías escolares y las vías residenciales. Vamos a asegurar de que vayan a haber monitores, gente que esté monitoreando el tráfico de la escuela para asegurar de que el tráfico vaya caminando como debe de ver y no vaya a causar congestión por la calle 16 y asegurar de que no estén dejando a niños en esa área donde no se deben dejar.
And in terms of residential traffic, we did our traffic study and looked at kind of the average rates for what affordable housing generates in trips during those kind of worst peak hours. And we found that we don't expect more than about 2 cars per minute to be using 16th and Hancock to get to and from the residential. In terms of parking, actually, I'll stop right there and let Martha go. Sorry.
Sí, entonces lo que nosotros hicimos en el estudio estábamos mirando, más que nada va a ser un promedio, ¿sí? De lo que podría suceder en las áreas residenciales. Sí, en el estudio nosotros incluimos lo que era lo más peor tráfico que podría suceder y estimamos de que no van a haber más de 2 carros por minuto en esa área de la calle 16 y Hancock de tráfico durante ese tiempo.
And in terms of kind of traffic in regards to parking along streets like Hancock and 16th, our researchers show that affordable housing does have a lower demand than normal market rate housing, which is met by the on-site parking supply. However, there also is opportunities to increase the supply in terms of allowing the residential areas to actually use the school parking when school isn't in session. For example, on the weekends, overnight, let's say from evening to the morning, there is that parking that could then be allocated for the residential guests and visitors and residents as well.
Ahora, correspondiente al estacionamiento, sí, en esas calles de la 16 a Hancock, sabemos de que affordable housing tiene lo que es una demanda muy baja, sí, para el suministro del estacionamiento que vaya a haber allí en esa área. Entonces, quiere decir que se podría utilizar el estacionamiento de la escuela los fines de semana, por la tarde o en la noche para el estacionamiento de esa área de affordable housing, de las viviendas económicas, sí, cuando no se está usando el estacionamiento de la escuela.
Thanks. With that, I can hand it over to Courtney.
Y se lo regresamos a Courtney.
Again, this is Courtney from the primary school. I just want to add to some of what Michael shared about traffic, specifically related to the school.
Ahora de nuevo, mi nombre es Courtney, yo nada más de The Primary School, nada más quiero añadir un poco acerca de lo que habló Michael, sí, acerca de el tráfico relacionado con la escuela.
I really appreciate the concerns about traffic. We operate a school in East Palo Alto and have experience working through the different challenges and needs related to traffic.
Ahora tomamos en mucha consideración y apreciamos las preocupaciones que se están comentando ahorita. Nosotros estamos asegurando de que la seguridad, ¿no? Y estas preocupaciones que se están nombrando ahorita en este momento sean vistas. Nosotros operamos una escuela en el este de Palo Alto.
It's really important in this community also to make sure that for the safety of kids, for their parents, for residents, for neighbors, that we work out a traffic plan that really does work.
Es muy importante que para esta comunidad aquí también que nosotros tengamos un plan que funcione para los niños, los residentes, los vecinos, sí, y para los padres y asegurar de que de veras sí vaya a funcionar bien.
Some of the measures that we've taken in East Palo Alto include looking at staggered drop-off and staggered pickup schedules, which can help during those peak hours.
Una de las cosas que nosotros hemos hecho en East Palo Alto, en la parte este de Palo Alto, es asegurar de que cuando vayan a dejar a los niños o que los vayan a recoger, el horario sí vaya a ser a horarios diferentes durante diferentes horas del día.
The last thing I will share is that we have some time to act on some of the measures that are already in the plans. The school is scheduled to begin in the fall of 2023.
Ahora, lo que quiero compartir es de que todavía tenemos tiempo, sí, para mirar las medidas en las planificaciones, sí, para lo que estamos comentando ahorita. La escuela está planificada para empezar en lo que es la parte de otoño del año 2023.
That first year, we plan to have a small number of the total students and families that will eventually be at the school, actually at school, preschool through first grade.
Entonces, ese primer año planeamos tener una baja cantidad de alumnos que viene siendo va a ser el primer año de lo que es los años preescolar al primer grado.
So the school is not planned to be fully enrolled and at full capacity until 2026 or 2027 at the earliest.
Entonces no tenemos planes para que la escuela esté en uso total de todos los estudiantes, ¿ok? Hasta el año 2026 o el año 2027, lo más temprano.
That gives us time to work together on the plans that have been already underway and to be sure that they're really working for the school and for the neighborhood.
Eso nos da tiempo para los planes que ya tenemos ahorita o para cambiar los planes que tenemos, sí, para el futuro, para asegurar de que las preocupaciones o que el plan que tengamos se pueda ser modificado como vaya pasando el tiempo.
And I'll pass to Elizabeth on parking.
Ahora se lo paso a Elizabeth para lo de estacionamiento.
Hi, everyone. Elizabeth Blanton. I'm a planner with the City of Hayward.
Hola a todos, mi nombre es Elizabeth Planton, yo soy planificadora con la ciudad de Hayward.
Just to add on regarding the parking, and I know we have other questions to get to, so we'll keep this short.
Ahora nada más para añadir acerca de las preguntas que tenemos de estacionamiento, sé que tenemos más preguntas para responder, lo vamos a hacer muy corto y breve.
The city we'll look at the parking for both uses separately. So we'll look at what parking is required for the school and then what parking is required for the residential.
La ciudad va a mirar a la parte del estacionamiento aparte. Vamos a mirar a ver qué es lo que se requiere para el estacionamiento residencial y vamos a mirar qué es lo que se requiere para el estacionamiento escolar.
For the school, based on our municipal code, there's a total of 46 parking spaces that are required, and the project provides 50, so a little bit more than that.
Entonces, para el código municipal vienen siendo 46 estacionamientos que se requiere y vamos a proporcionar 50, que es un poquito más del requerimiento.
For the residential, there's a number of state laws that actually limit what the city can require for parking. So for this project, because it's so close to the South Hayward BART station and it has a high percentage of units, all units, affordable to low-income households, the city can only require 1/2 of a parking space per unit. So that would be like a total of 88 parking spaces.
Entonces, para esto, para la parte residencial, entonces la ley limita la cantidad de estacionamiento y para esa sección, porque está tan cerca de la parte South Hayward de la estación BART, entonces nosotros estimamos que van a ser como 1,5 de estacionamiento permitido para cada unidad. Vienen siendo en total 88 estacionamientos.
And to contrast that, so we can only require 88 parking spaces for the residential. The project is actually providing more than double that. It's providing 183 parking spaces for the residential. And again, we as the city, because these are state laws, we just don't have the ability to require more, and neither does our city council.
Ahora, el requerimiento que viene siendo 88 para la parte de estacionamiento, para la parte residencial, nosotros vamos a proporcionar 183 estacionamientos. Ahora, la ley nos limita, pero también lo que viene siendo el grupo de la ciudad, que se conoce como la comisión municipal, no hay necesidad de proporcionar más de eso.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you. And I'd also like to ask Scott Wickstrom from the city to speak to the condition of the roads. And I know we have other questions in the chat, so we'll get to them as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'll be brief. I appreciate the question and the concern. I have been up on 16th Street. The road is in fairly poor condition. The one thing I'll say is the city of Hayward is no different than many cities in the Bay Area and in the state of California that were long starved of sufficient funding to pave their roads. And there's been 2 major changes in the last few years. Measure BB was approved by Alameda County voters, which added a half-cent sales tax. A significant amount of money goes towards road repavement. And the state legislature approved Senate Bill 1, which is the gas tax, the amended gas tax, which also provides significant amount of funding towards roadways. That was in 2014 and 2017. And I'll say that in 2020, the city spent $11 million to pave 42 miles of its network, another 10.5 million in this year to pave another 30 miles. We are catching up. Yes, we are behind, but we are catching up. And I will say that one of the key tenets that our public works director includes in every project that he reviews, and when it comes to street selections, particularly for roadways, is equity, which is to say that we are looking to make sure that all parts of the entire city have their roads serviced to the extent they can.
Sí, ahora traemos al señor Scott para que responda a las preguntas y las preocupaciones acerca de el pavimento y las calles, el estado de las calles. Agradezco las preguntas que se han hecho. Yo he ido y he viajado por la calle 16. Entiendo de que la calidad está muy pobre. Sí. Y no es nada diferente lo que está sucediendo aquí en la ciudad de Hayward, como muchas ciudades en la área de la bahía y en el estado de California están sufriendo lo mismo. Ahora, sí hay dinero para ayudar con la pavimentación de las carreteras. Habían las dos medidas que se pasaron. Una de ellas era la BB. Eso permitió lo que es que los sales tax en el condado de Alameda de casi la mitad de % vaya y contribuya para la reparación de las carreteras. También lo que es uno de los, el Senado, la ley que se pasó, también aumentó los impuestos de la gasolina del año 2014 al año 2017. Ahora 11 millones de dólares. Sí, se han podido utilizar para, aunque sea, ayudar a 42 millas de pavimento de las carreteras. Ahora otros 10,5 millones se están utilizando para otras 30 millas, para la reparación de 30 millas de carretera. Ahora, el director de Public Works, una de las metas y aseguramiento de que él está haciendo es de que sea a nivel a cada ciudad que lo requiera y que lo necesite, que sean iguales, que no vaya a haber ninguna indiferencia para las reparaciones que son necesarias en las ciudades.
Thank you, Martha and Scott. I would like to call on Julia, who has had her hand raised for a while now. Thanks for your patience, Julia.
Quiero llamar a Julia, que tiene ya tiempo con la mano esperando para hacer la pregunta.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me
Yes.
now? Okay.
Yes, Julia.
Yeah, I want to know if this is part of public hearing.
Quiero saber si eso es parte de la audiencia pública.
I can speak to that quickly, Kate, if that's okay. Again, this is Elizabeth Blanton. Good question, Julia. No, this is not part of the official public hearing that will happen at the City Council meeting on September 28th. This is a community meeting that's run by the applicant as they wanted a chance to explain the project to the community, maybe address some of the questions or concerns that folks have ahead of that meeting. But no, there will still be a full public hearing in front of the City Council on September 28th, and everyone here is invited to participate.
Okay, because I have international call, I cannot attend in the first part, and I would not be able to attend the last part. I just want to raise my question, and I have to leave. I have several questions. First, the residents request 3D geologic analysis. Why? What did the builder do so far? Second, about parking. You can set 0.5, but the reality is not so. Okay, may I share my screen? Could you please give me the right to share my screen? I want to show you the current street parking.
Yeah, I can try to do that in 1 second.
Sí, ahora mi nombre es Elizabeth Plankton y quiero nada más avisarle de que la pregunta que hizo la señorita Julia quiere saber si esta es una audiencia pública. Le indica de que no. Eso va a ser en el City Council Meeting el 28 de septiembre. Esto básicamente lo que es la compañía que está sometiendo la solicitud a la comunidad y a los residentes para primero obtener los comentarios, preocupaciones, y también la señorita Julia está pidiendo acerca del análisis geotécnico que se ha hecho de el requerimiento de los residentes y esta área. Quiere saber qué es lo que se ha hecho. Ahorita está indicando de que el estacionamiento no va a ser suficiente. Va a compartir ahorita una imagen de cómo se ve el estacionamiento en esta área.
Hello, can you see my screen?
Yes, thank you, Julia.
Max screen,
Okay,
thank you.
this is 16th Street parking. This is Webster Street parking. This is 16th Street.
Esa es la calle 16.
A lot. Because I did not prepare well today. It's too quick for me. All the street parking are full. So even the apartment like 16th Street, they're even closer than your building. But you can say 0.5, but the reality is not so. People cannot, take bus to drop their kids to school. People cannot use bus to take their kids to see the doctor, everything. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I'm in the international meeting, so make me pretty hurry today. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
we can hear
Julia.
you, Julia. Thank you for trying.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry because I'm a little bit hurry today. And also, this is parking. Second, about the congestion. So even with current residents, we have tough time to evacuation. And also one more, one is safety, one is parking, one is congestion. Another one is, I want to ask, maybe this question is for Elizabeth. How many builder was bid there? Why they win the bid? Why they win the bid? What did they promise in the beginning, and why the plan changed?
Thank you, Julia. Do you have any additional questions? Okay, I'm gonna ask Martha when she's ready to translate.
Later, because today I'm really in hurry. Okay.
Thank
Ahora,
you.
estas imágenes que mostré era de la calle 16. Ahorita como se ve tan congestionado el estacionamiento, va a ser muy difícil. ¿Dónde es que van a poder dejar a los niños, recoger a los niños? Me preocupa la seguridad de esta área. Y ahora también la otra pregunta que quiero hacer es ¿cuáles eran los planes inicialmente y por qué cambiaron? ¿Qué fue lo que cambió?
Thank you, Julia, for the questions. I would like to ask James Yang to answer your question about the geological analysis.
Yeah, sure. So I guess in the interest of time, we have characterized the subsurface conditions, and the model that we've created is a 2D model and is considered the standard of care. And so we have looked at it. The factors of safety that we considered or that we are seeing also I think the performance of the slopes are going to be pretty well characterized. So I know 3D geological analysis sounds really attractive, but we have performed the standard of care for this project.
Sí, ahora mi nombre es James Yang. Yo voy a hablar acerca del análisis geológico que hicimos. Hemos mirado lo que es la superficie y las condiciones de esta área. El modelo que hemos hecho es un modelo de dos dimensiones y está basado en el estándar de cuidado. Consideramos lo que es la seguridad y sabemos de que el característico, aunque sería mejor tal vez tridimensional, el característico de la manera en que está la tierra y el terreno deslizado está en conjunto con el estándar de cuidado.
Thank you. And then your second question, Julia, was about parking.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I totally have several questions. First is safety. Second is the congestion. Third is the parking. The last one, how can they win the bid? What did they promise, and why pick them?
Okay. So related to the congestion and the evacuation plan, I'm going to ask Scott to jump in here from the city.
Sí, ahora la pregunta que tenía acerca de la congestión de tráfico y la evacuación, el plan de evacuación, le voy a pedir a Scott de la ciudad que venga a responder su pregunta.
Sure, and I touched on this briefly before, but I'll reiterate. Traffic congestion at an intersection during like a morning rush hour or evening rush hour is very different than evacuation. Evacuations take time, they're not immediate. I think a perfect example is if everybody watched what unfolded in South Lake Tahoe during the Calder fire. They evacuated the entire city of South Lake Tahoe. It did not happen in 15 minutes. It took a couple hours to do such a large evacuation. Now, if we're talking a smaller scale evacuation of the 200 residents up in La Vista, the homes up above in the tract, and also this project, it might not take several hours, but it might take on the order of a half an hour or an hour to do, but that's reasonable expectation with what our roads can handle. And it's something that would certainly, if an emergency took place, police and fire would be available to assist in such evacuations and to guide the people as best they could. But I just want to be careful that evacuation is very different than day-to-day traffic.
Ahora quiero nada más indicarte que el tráfico y una evacuación es muy diferente. Si una evacuación es algo que toma durante una serie de horas, puede ser que tome. Ahora, no es lo mismo cuando hay tráfico. Si va a haber una evacuación, eso puede tomar un par de horas. Un buen ejemplo que puedo usar viene siendo el incendio que sucedió en la parte sur de Lake Tahoe, en el incendio que se conoció como Caldor. Ahora, ellos pudieron evacuar toda la ciudad. Una evacuación es algo que no es un par de minutos. ¿Sí? Dura horas, pero se puede hacer. Ahora, tomemos en consideración los 200 residentes que están en la parte de la Vista. Una evacuación puede durar de 30 minutos a 1 hora. Ahora, en casos de emergencia, en un desastre, obviamente tenemos a la policía y también a los bomberos que pueden ayudar durante estas evacuaciones.
Martha, I'm super impressed. But I'll add one other thing. There's been some discussion about why we have 2 different access points, one on Tennyson and one on 16th. That is also a feature and a factor for evacuation. Should something happen at one of the 2 entrances or an incident occur, there's always an alternate route for evacuations to occur. That's another reason why we definitely want to see the 2 access points, one off 16th, one off of Tennyson. And also, if it really was a critical scenario, both traffic could go on both sides of the road to exit the site if necessary as well.
Ahora quiero indicar acerca de lo que habíamos platicado de que hay 2 diferentes accesos. Uno es en la calle Tennyson, el otro es por la calle 16 y siempre tendremos lo que es una ruta alternativa. Si una de ellos viene siendo en la parte de la calle 16, el otro está por la calle Tennyson y nada más quiero indicar de que hay otras rutas alternativas. Es por eso que tenemos esos 2 puntos de acceso.
Thank you. And then parking, I think a few consultants have spoken to that, but I will paraphrase here what I've heard.
Ahora, acerca del estacionamiento, hay 2 consultantes que han hablado acerca de eso, pero yo voy a dar un resumen acerca de lo que yo escuché.
As Courtney from the primary school noted, she will, along with her colleagues at the primary school, will put together an operational plan to mitigate any parking related concerns related to the school and have it approved by the city.
Actually, to be honest, each family had at least 2 cars. So 2 buildings is, one is just finished between Mission and Hancock, you know that. Another one is about to build, about, each unit maximum 1 car parking there. So it means each have about 50, about 100 cars need to park in the street. And plus this 2 new building, at least 200 cars need to park in the street, totally more than 300 cars need to park in the street. Where can these cars go? Currently, the street parking is totally full. The reality and the theory is totally different. Each family have at least 2 cars.
Sí, ahora voy a hablar acerca del estacionamiento, como había indicado Courtney, de The Primary School. En uno de los otros lugares escolares que ellos tienen, ellos trabajan con su colega, ella trabaja con su colega acerca de tener un plan y irlo cambiando durante este tiempo acerca del estacionamiento y que sea aprobado por la escuela. Si es que va funcionando, no va funcionando o cómo es que se va a modificar. Ahora, la señorita Julia habla de que cada familia tiene aunque sea 2 autos. Sí, ahorita con los edificios que están terminando en la calle Mission y en la calle Hancock, hay como 200 autos o 300 autos. Ahora, esta es la realidad, sí, del estacionamiento. ¿Dónde se van a estacionar tanto carro?
To jump in here just to add a little bit more about the parking. Again, this is Elizabeth, City Planner.
Ahora mi nombre es Elizabeth, de City Planner, y yo voy a hablar un poquito más acerca del estacionamiento.
Julie, I completely hear your frustration saying that a lot of households need 2 cars or even 3 parking spaces, depending on the household configuration. We've heard the same from other neighbors on other projects and from the Planning Commission and City Council in the past.
Ahora, Julia, yo entiendo su frustración acerca del estacionamiento, de que pueden ser que cada familia vaya a tener 2 carros o necesita 3 estacionamientos. Hemos escuchado lo mismo de otras vecindades y otros grupos de planificación en el pasado.
And this is not a question that's unique to Hayward. A lot of cities around the Bay Area are having the same problem, trying to figure out, with all this new housing coming in, where's the parking going to go? But in this case, specifically for this project, because it's an affordable housing project, our hands really are tied. We can't require more parking. And the applicants even going above and beyond, they're providing way more parking than they're required to. So I just want to emphasize, we hear you at city staff. We hear this constantly from people in the community, but the state is just taking a really aggressive approach towards housing, which means not allowing parking for certain types of projects or not allowing us to require a lot of parking for certain types of projects. And this is one of those types of projects.
Sí, ahora Julia, yo entiendo la frustración y los comentarios que usted hace, pero en realidad no nada más es esto específico a la ciudad de Hayward. Eso también está sucediendo en otras comunidades, en otras ciudades que tienen el mismo problema, pero lo que pasa es de que con estas viviendas económicas no pueden requerir más estacionamientos. Sí, nosotros la escuchamos lo que usted está diciendo y la frustración del estacionamiento, pero el Estado toma lo que es se enfrenta más agresivo con esta parte del estacionamiento, de que no hay mucho control que tengamos nosotros de requerir más estacionamiento para estas viviendas económicas.
And the reason that the state has taken away some of these parking requirements for these types of projects is because countless studies and research have shown that, one, multifamily projects tend to have less parking need than, say, like a single family home would. And 2, that affordable housing projects have even less parking requirements, actual needs for built projects than a market rate project would.
Y ahora una de las razones por qué el Estado está tan específico, estricto con el requerimiento del estacionamiento y nos ha quitado tener más estacionamiento es porque los estudios que se han hecho indican de que estas viviendas multifamiliares, la necesidad de tener un auto es mucho menos que algunas otras áreas. Vamos a decir lo que es algo que se necesita en otras comunidades que no vayan a ser viviendas económicas. La necesidad es menos en esta clase de vivienda económica.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And I'd like you to
One more question. You haven't answered me question. Why they win the bid? I cannot
That was the
understand.
next-
I saw the 2 years plan. It was 3-story and 280. Why they win the bid? They win the bid and then they changed, right? Then we need to bid in the public.
Julia,
Why they win the bid?
Julia, I can speak to that as well.
I'm not sure if there's any big money behind the table, any deal behind the table. Residents now is doubt.
Yeah, Julia, this is Elizabeth again. I can speak to that as well.
I want to speak in the public, let everybody hear that. People now residents have doubt if there's any deal behind the table. Why they win the bid? Why they have this project? There's a lot of builders outside. Why they get this project?
And the reason for
What
that,
did they promise and they changed later?
the reason for that is the city council looked at 3 different proposals for this site. When the city issued an RFP, a request for proposals, we got 3 different proposals. And the one that the city council elected to go with was the one that Eden and the Pacific companies provided that said that there would be at least 150 units of affordable housing, at least. There, as you noted, their original proposal had much more than that, and a school with it. I'm just going to pause quickly so we can translate.
Sí, ahora la pregunta es, ¿cuál es la razón? Porque antes tenía lo que eran 3 niveles con 280 unidades. ¿Por qué se cambió? ¿Por qué fue que se cambió eso? ¿Hay dinero involucrado aquí acerca de la razón por qué se cambió? Y Elizabeth Blanton le responde a la pregunta que está haciendo y le explica es de que hubieron 3 diferentes propuestas que se presentaron a la ciudad. En estas 3 diferentes propuestas que se hicieron, Eden Housing y lo que es TPC, la otra comunidad, la otra compañía, proporcionaron lo que eran 150 unidades, aunque sea 150 unidades, fue la propuesta.
And the reason, and just for everyone on this call, and I will reiterate this at the public hearing. Thank you, Julia. That's a great point. Everyone should be aware of this. But for everyone on this call, Julia's right. The Eden and the Pacific Company's original proposal did show a series of smaller scale buildings, 3-story buildings, multiple 3-story buildings across the site. And I'm just going to pause for translation.
Ahora, la razón por la cual estoy respondiendo a esa pregunta, pero la razón por la cual hubo ese cambio, porque es como dice Julia, de que en la audiencia pública, también lo voy a volver a repetir cuando la tengamos, pero anteriormente eran más unidades, pero eran muchas más pequeñas las unidades. Con estas los que proponieron aquí eran 150 unidades, aunque sea, pero ahora incluye lo que es la parte escolar, la escuela también.
And the reason that the project had to change into 2 taller 5-story buildings is because of all those site constraints. Once, NGO and all of our technical consultants went in and looked at the site, they said, the only part you can really develop on without getting into all these fault traces and landslide areas and all of these other less stable parts of the site, the only part that really makes sense to develop this project on so it can be safe, supported in accordance with all of the state building code and state laws regarding buildings next to fault traces, is in that southwest corner of the site. So in order to achieve the city council's vision of having at least 150 affordable housing units in a school, they had to consolidate that development into the southwest corner of the site.
Ahora, la razón por la cual eso cambió de lo que inicialmente habían propuesto de 3 niveles con 280 unidades era porque en vez de eso pusieron lo que eran 2 edificios más altos de 5 niveles, eran por las restricciones que tenían tomando la seguridad, tomando el lote, el terreno y las fallas, las líneas y las zonas de fallas en caso de temblor. y también cumpliendo con las leyes y también los códigos para construir los edificios. Era solamente lo más seguro iba a ser en el sitio y la zona del sur oeste, y también cumpliendo con la visión de teniendo, aunque sea 150 unidades o viviendas económicas, y para cumplir con todo eso, inconcluso con la escuela.
You did not answer my question. I want to know how many builders are built there in the beginning.
There were 3, but Jen Ott, who's our assistant city manager, and she was a part of putting together that RFP process. She's also on the line, so I'll actually just defer to her and let her speak.
Yeah. Hi, Julia. I'm again Jennifer Ott, Assistant City Manager. I just wanted to comment on making really clear that all the developers that we're working with in this case are nonprofit developers. So no one is set to make a profit per se, like you would a market rate developer. And the city has a base price that we have to pay to Caltrans in exchange for these properties. And so Caltrans has to be paid a certain amount in order for the land to be able to be affordable housing. But the city isn't set to make very much money off of this. The developers are nonprofits. So I just want to be really clear. And then the city, we review all of the developers' performas to kind of make sure that we understand how they're being financed, and that there's no, that we understand exactly how the financing and the financials are working.
My question,
so
how
in this-
many builders are bid there? Is this via public bid? Or just
Well, this wasn't a request for proposals for public land, and they're structured differently than a public works project.
public bid?
Julie,
My question,
just let me-
public bid. How many builders are bid there? Why they
understand.
get this? Why they win this bid?
Yeah, just please try to let me finish so that I can try to answer your questions. But it wasn't a bid process, it was a proposal process. And that's typically the way you do it for public land when you're transferring, when you're looking for developers to come to build on public land. We had 3 responses to the city's RFP, or request for proposals. And this development team was selected because they were highly qualified, they were nonprofit, and they were going to be building public amenities and like affordable housing to help with our housing crisis that we have in the city. And that's why they were chosen. They're very highly qualified. They have as you already heard in this presentation, a really stellar track record for building
Excuse me.
housing. Mhm.
Just
And
in
that
the
was why
opposite.
they were.
I check the
then-
internet. I check internet. Everybody can check the internet from the Everybody Wiki. You can see Eden House, the common for Eden House.
Yeah, so all of them can be, you can Google them, you can look at them, we can provide qualifications for them. They'd be willing to answer those questions on their own websites, but they're highly qualified nonprofit developers. So money is not the motive here. The motive here is to provide housing to help our housing crisis. We have many Hayward residents, and COVID has made it even worse, that cannot afford to continue to live in Hayward or in the Bay Area, who are becoming unhoused or have extreme housing instability. And so the city is prioritizing construction of affordable housing to help Hayward residents stay in Hayward and be able to afford to live here. And that's the reason we chose them. And they are
It means the project did not via public bid, right? No public bidding.
Yeah,
so please go, everybody, please go everyone wiki to check Eden House, the common for Eden House.
Yeah, Eden Housing, please do check their qualifications. I encourage everyone to go ahead and Google them and look at them and look at their qualifications. Highly qualified developer that has developed housing throughout the Bay Area and makes a mission out of nonprofit mission to provide housing to help people.
Who are you?
I'm the Assistant City Manager for the City of Hayward. My job is to oversee the redevelopment of the 238 parcels. And this is not subject to public bidding requirements. This is a public land disposition, so it's subject to different process. And so we did do a request for proposals for this. So I think we should move on to the final questions because we're past our time of 7 o'clock. And Julia, I'm happy to talk to you offline and answer more questions, but in this case, I'm more
happy to talk in the public because I don't want anything behind it.
We can do that too. Yeah, and this is there's no one's making money here. These are nonprofit developers who are doing this to help Hayward residents and the Bay Area community build affordable housing so that we don't have so many homeless people and so that we are able to help people who are in need.
Okay, I just got a question, or I also missing my point. Why put this 5-story heavyweight building by default? There's a lot of land, you can build this heavy 5-story building. Why put there?
Well, it turns out, Julia, that there isn't a lot of land in the Bay Area that's actually near BART that can be developed. In fact, have a shortage kind of land that allows this type of housing that's that close to BART, so that you can actually have people walking to BART and not having car impacts, the ones that you're concerned about. It's actually, and so it's very difficult for nonprofit affordable housing developers to find land that they can develop. And in this case,
but you affect all the existing residents. They are fighting with these 300 cars, with this less than 50 parking available.
Yeah, I understand your concerns, and I think we're going to move on. But I just like to say, in general, I just like to say that it's hard. We have to weigh the benefits of providing affordable housing to try. But
you cannot connect other.
Julie, please let me finish.
Residents.
I understand, but there are trade-offs with housing development and development. And in this case, what we're saying is
you cannot trade off with people's life.
Well, I think we're going to continue because you're continuing to interrupt me.
Okay, now, if you insist that, I want to let you know, we request 3D and geologic analysis. Please provide this data.
They have done that, and we've done geological. The city absolutely has the same concerns you have, as do the developers. No one wants to build unsafe housing.
You cannot,
And so we, in fact, our building official reviews of the geotechnical analysis, we peer review it. We have experts that are, experts in, seismic conditions and geotechnical analysis. So all that work has been done to make sure that it's safe. And the city has the same interest you have into making sure it will be safe. So it sounds like I think we should, Julia.
I have request licensed geologic. With California license.
James Yang, who's on this,
see this data? Last time we only see Scotter. He has no license.
We're happy to provide that, Julie. We're happy to provide that. The person on the phone, James Yang, on this call is a certified geotechnical engineer. And he will be, and James, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if it will be you, but someone in his firm will be signing and stamping all of this analysis to confirm that that they've done the proper analysis according to state law to make sure that it's safe to build here. I think we should go on so that we don't, Julie, I just want to make sure other people on the call have a chance to ask questions. And again, I'm happy to talk to you. If you don't want to talk to me offline, that's fine too. But I think we should probably move on.
I have lots of questions. Okay, you can let other people, but actually you did not answer my main concern is safety, safety, safety.
Yeah, and those are all the city's same concerns as well.
But last public hearing, I did not see anything about this part. And the only geologist have no license talk there. He's not qualified.
I was at that hearing as well.
And license, you are not qualified.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that no one has done that work or that we're not relying on work prepared by geotechnical engineers to determine the safety of the project. And we had that at the time of the hearing. And so we have all of that analysis, and any further work on this project will have to be reviewed by geotechnical engineers. And so the city has done that work, Julia, and we're happy.
Haven't done that. Well, haven't public in last public hearing, but you already start to prove that. I don't think that this is a responsible decision. You need to make all this data ready to prove this is safe, and then you prove it.
Okay, well, we can continue to talk to you about what data you're looking for and try to provide that to you. I think we should probably move on to other folks that are wanting to talk, Julia, since you've had a number of questions here.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Julia. We are a little bit over our 7 p.m. Close time, so I wanted to open it up to one more question. I think Perlinda was in the queue. Perlinda, if you are still on, would you like to ask your question?
Yes. Are you able to hear me okay with okay. I'll be as brief as I can. I'm actually a primary school parent, a part of the program, and as an advocate for the school and possibly a potential neighbor to the residents that we're hearing from today. I'm here to genuinely try to understand concerns that residents may have about a school being built in their community and that sort of thing. So I definitely understand traffic concerns. I'm actually a Hayward resident myself and have grown up in Hayward Unified School District. and the schools. So I'm interested to hear all concerns. Okay, hold on 1 second, baby. 1 second. If there's any concerns outside of traffic, I'm interested to hearing those as well, because the school itself has a lot of great benefits for the community and for people a part of the community. I'm an advocate for the school, just based upon the relationship I've had with them over a year plus prior to the pandemic and throughout the pandemic. And they've been great partnerships with including community members, parents, all kinds of people within the conversations, as we're doing right now, all kind of connecting from different backgrounds. So I, at some point, maybe down the line, I'd love to share some of the benefits of the school so that some of the residents can understand outside of traffic. If traffic is the main or sole concern outside of traffic, there's a lot of great things going on with this school that can help the community and the future of the community. So yes.
Sí, una de las preguntas que hacen aquí es acerca de, yo soy uno de los padres de primary school y quiero yo abogar para la gente los vecinos y la gente y los padres que están en esta área esperando para que se construya lo que es esta nueva área. Ahora yo quiero escuchar, porque me interesa escuchar las preocupaciones o comentarios que tenga la gente fuera de la situación de tráfico. Sí, porque yo vivo en Hayward, yo he estado con parte de, he sido padre con niños que van a primary school por más de un año y hay muchas uniones que se han hecho con la escuela, con otras comunidades y otros grupos en la comunidad. Todos conectan, hay muchos beneficios a esta escuela que están presentando aquí. Es por eso que yo quiero escuchar más preocupaciones, dudas, comentarios que tenga la gente fuera de lo que sea del tráfico.
That was it for me.
Es todo para mí.
Thank you, Perlinda. So at this point, we are 21 minutes past the hour, and I would like to encourage anyone who hasn't had their questions answered to reach out to the Parcel Group 3 email address. And Diego.
Ahora ya hemos pasado el tiempo de la presentación. Cualquier otra duda, pregunta que tengan acerca de esta presentación, quiero proporcionar aquí este correo electrónico que tenemos. Pueden presentar sus preguntas allí.
Thank you. And I also wanted to let the audience know that the development team is going to compile questions posed during this meeting and in the next few days and issue a frequently asked question document that we will post to our project website. Here's the
I also want to
URL.
urge the city, can the city to start to do investigation if there's any deal, any big money behind the table?
Thank you,
Because
Julia.
now residents have doubt. Please start the investigation, urgent the city.
Julia, thank you for your urgency and questions. I would be happy to offer a follow-up meeting with the development team, and it sounds like Jen is also more than happy to set up a call with you. So I really hope you take us up on those offers so that we
It's
can
not
address
me.
your
It's
concerns.
a lot of residents, lot of neighbors have this concern. I just raised these questions because they all are very busy. Your time is too short. They cannot attend. At least if you give them 10 days ahead, they can pre-arrange their work.
Thank you. And I think I wrote back to you late last week that we would be happy to have a follow-up meeting with you if that's something you're interested in.
Ahora, lo que había comentado Kate es acerca de que todas las preguntas que se están haciendo aquí en este foro serán presentadas, lo que es en un documento de preguntas más frecuentes que se hacen y las van a responder, así para que en el sitio de web tengan acceso a las preguntas que se han hecho o todavía no se respondieron y a las respuestas que van a hacer. El equipo de desarrollo va a responder a esas preguntas. La señorita Julia tiene más preguntas acerca de qué beneficios tiene el desarrollo de este plan, la planificación. Le ofrece la señorita Kate que puedan platicar por otra llamada telefónica y responder preguntas con también la señorita Jennifer Ott.
Thank you, Martha. In terms of other next steps, as you've heard, the City Council is going to be voting on the entitlements approvals for this project on September 28th, 2021.
If everything's not ready, I think it should not do that if everything's not ready. At least the safety needs to be very clear before you go to the final vote to make the final decision.
I hear you, Julia, and we will do everything we can to demonstrate to the public that the standard of care we've used
At least
to
last
design.
time, excuse me. At least last time it was not ready, but people approved. I cannot understand this part. Without enough data to prove it's safe.
Thank you, Julia. We're going to have to wrap things up, but I encourage you to provide some times that you would like to meet with us so that we can discuss this further. I would love to bring in our geotechnical engineer, James Yang, if you're available as well, so that we can respond to some of your concerns.
We need if you did 3D analysis, just public data to the public. I don't need this data. The public need data. I just speak, represent our labor because they are laborers, because they are very busy. I want to let you know, the reality is more than 95% labor. More than that, I can say 98 or even 99, but some of them are on vacation, are against this project. Did you hear? Did the city know that? More than, I'm 100% sure it's 95, more than 95%. And then if more accurate, maybe 98, 99. Why the city cannot hear their voice?
Yes.
Please hear their voice.
Julia, we are going to have to wrap this up. I'm so sorry to cut you short, but we can work with the city to provide some of the geotechnical analysis and make it public so that you have a chance to dig in. And I'm sorry, Julia, we really do need to wrap it up. So please follow up with me to schedule a call and then we can go from there. So everybody, thank you so much for taking the time. And Martha, I'm sorry to have given you a long spiel to translate, but we really appreciate you taking the time to spend with us this evening. Thank you to the city consultants, city staff and development team and consultants for spending your Monday evening with us, as well as the community. Really appreciate it. And we look forward to being in touch with you in the future.
Ahora, gracias a todos que han unido aquí con nosotros. Por fin, lo que viene siendo el ayuntamiento municipal van a votar en los derechos y las aprobaciones el 28 de septiembre del año 2021. Gracias a todos los equipos de desarrollo que estuvieron aquí con nosotros hoy esta tarde. Gracias a todos y por compartir su lunes en la noche con nosotros.